What's going on, traders? Andrew O'Connell with Pristine Capital coming at you with yet another market recap video. It is August 10th, 2021. Today we're going to take a look at the markets. Before we jump in, quick risk disclaimer, nothing in this video should be construed as investment advice or recommendations. Please follow your own trading plan and your own risk parameters. And last but certainly not least, do not YOLO your entire account into any one of my trades. Definitely had a very rotational day on the tape. So let's jump in and we'll take a look at it. All right. So S&P 500. We are just putting in these doji candles every single day. So check this out. We've essentially been in a consolidation pattern since the end of July. So it's been about 2 to 3 weeks. And there have been a couple of occasions where it really looked like the bears were going to take over and maybe this thing was going to turn to the downside. But every time we've had a dip buyers have come right in and auctioned us higher. So right now we are consolidating. Today is, I would say, day 3 in this little range right here. And my bias is for further upside price action at the moment. So in terms of the choppiness, I think what's most important is just trying not to get too chopped up and trying not to rush things, to be perfectly honest. Like if you're really trying to just like gun it and make like a ton of money when the market's not really moving that day, it's going to be very challenging. What I'm finding is a lot of times, the assets that you're putting on today, maybe they benefit you, tomorrow, the next day, etc. But I'm not really finding many opportunities where it's like, I just hit a really nice winner on day 1 of the trade. But that is okay. NASDAQ was weak today. Yeah, NASDAQ down 0.51%. So just for our box scores, we had S&P 500 measured by the SPY up 0.12%. We had the NASDAQ QQQ down 0.51%. We had the IWM small caps up 0.2%. And the Dow Jones was our best performer today, up 0.45%. So yeah, the NASDAQ was the underperformer today. And I think this has a large part to do with, take a look at these 10-year Treasury futures. Ever since the jobs report last Friday, these 10-year Treasury futures have been very weak. And what this means is that the 10-year Treasury yield is rising. It's very tough to just have a booming NASDAQ and booming technology stocks when you have rates that are rising. And right now, this is like a frog being boiled in water. I don't really see many people talking about this. Oh my gosh, like yields are moving higher. What'll likely happen is, let's say if the inflation print for tomorrow comes out very hot, and you can see that right here. We have inflation data coming out at 8:30 a.m. tomorrow. Then if there's like a huge extended range red candle on these 10-year treasuries, everyone will be like, oh my gosh, did you hear that 10-year treasuries, they're going down now, even though it's been like, 6 days in the making already. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But for right now, we're seeing a little rotation. The other thing that I am cognizant of is we've had, another COVID outbreak, the Delta variant. And when that happened, we had all these technology stocks really boom. We had a lot of, stay-at-home stocks doing very well. A lot of cyclical and reflationary assets that really corrected very hard. I would imagine that after this COVID trade, we're going to have essentially another reopening trade, like a reflationary trade. And what we're seeing right now may be the beginning of it. So the IWM small caps, they are still stuck in value. My bias remains to the upside though. My bias remains that we will tag this monthly value area high. And I like using the term bias, because as a trader, we all know that no one can predict the future, but everyone always has a bias to where they think, based on how I trade and my calculated probabilities, this is the most likely scenario in my opinion. Dow Jones, really nice day for the Dow. It looks like we are finally, breaking out of this range, which is a good thing. So the Dow is definitely one I'm going to have to start watching a little bit more closely because it was the outperformer today. All right, let's jump over to our market breadth. Market breadth today was good, but yeah, it depended on which areas of the market you were in. And I know the way this typically goes is that, everyone piles into what's been working, which has been tech. So I'd imagine there's a lot of traders out there that really got hurt today. as the breadth in the tech sector was very negative. Best breadth was the Dow Jones with 73% advancers. Moving over to our heat map, just to get a more in-depth look under the hood. Yeah, check this out. So we had Tesla down slightly for the day. I actually stopped out of my Tesla. We had Amazon down. These semiconductors, which have been, Teflon, very strong, they were down as well in these software names. So that to me is telling me that there may be some sort of rotation out of those groups. And what was strong today? We had industrials very strong, energy, some of these travel names were very strong. So this is definitely, one of those pivotal days where you want to be paying attention. Sectors, we have our blockchain assets at the top of our sector list. They took a break today, but take a look at what else is at the top of this momentum list. We have financials, regional banks, which is a subset of financials, capital markets, which is a subset of financials, European financials. So the proof is in the pudding. We're seeing these groups that are performing the best. Then we also have materials, which are represented at the top of our list. Home builders. So to me, it looks like a little reflation trade going on. But in terms of just the best performers, one-day performance, we had XRT with a very good performance, which is the retail stocks. We had the 3D printing stocks doing very well. And then some of the laggards, we had the gold miners, ARKG, these genomic companies, ARKK. And that also, rhymes perfectly with what we've been discussing. Because when you have, rates rising, that is a very poor environment for these, innovation companies, which a lot of times they trade at very high sales multiples, very high earnings multiples. Those sales and earnings have to be discounted at a higher discount rate, which, harms those companies. Style factors. Okay, style factors. We had the high beta style factor of 1.14%. And in terms of a laggard, we had growth stocks, this IWF ETF, down 0.44%. All right, so let's take a look. We will go through some of my trades. Let's also talk about some of these companies that reported earnings after the bell. So we'll run through some of my highlights today. So I closed out my Tesla. I love this. I love taking very tight stops. Like right here, I closed out for 709.61. I had paid 711, so that's maybe like a 0.2% loss or something like that. That's really my goal in terms of, progressing as a trader, taking tighter and tighter stops. So that's awesome. Nvidia closed this one out, stopped out as well for 199.82. I had paid 207. This one I think I let get a little bit away from me. Although I think for most traders it's a pretty tight stop, between 2 and 3%. For me, I think I could have gotten that a little bit tighter, taking it off maybe around 201, 202. I added to my DigitalOcean position. This is a name that I really like for the long term. I had a pretty overweight position. I started trimming it up, taking some gains off the table. And today this one had a really nice candle, so I added some back. Let's take a look at DigitalOcean. And this is the cloud stock that you're not hearing about, essentially. Because we all know the one that you're hearing about is Cloudflare. But this stock trades at 60 or 70 times earnings. This stock is up a gajillion % over the past 2 years. Is there really any alpha left in it? Probably not, to be perfectly honest. But I see DigitalOcean as, a really nice alpha long. And it has been for me so far. Yesterday we closed below that 20-day. Today we popped right outside of this monthly value area. So I'm liking this DigitalOcean. I think it can go much higher over time. So I added a little bit back to that one. And then I also added a bit to Zim. Zim, this name, it's one of those names that if we get another reopening reflationary trade, this stock performed very well during that sequence. And it corrected, a good 20-30%, pretty deep correction. Now we're trading above this monthly value area. We've been consolidating for about 4 days. If you look at this candle, it's occurring on high relative volume. So yeah, I'm liking Zim here. This is another one that in my opinion right now is a bit of a sleeper. I also put on 5. This one I triggered into yesterday. Really nice day for 5 and some nice follow through. This one definitely, it hit my original upside target. Let's talk about some of these trades. One that I did try this morning was Snapchat. I took this one at 934, got long some 80 strike calls, and then I stopped out very shortly after for $4.20 because Snapchat, take a look at this. So it really just pulled a reversal. So Snapchat, it triggered my peg setup above this prior high. And then, we lifted very nicely up to this 80 spot 85, but then we broke the prior low of the day. So I stopped out, right around here at like 78 bucks, took a very minimal loss. Whereas if you just got stuck in this thing, I'm sure there's a lot of trapped longs that are just going to stick around in here. But yeah, I think this breakout, partly failed just due to the style factor that Snapchat is in, these high growth, high multiple stocks. But yeah, that one, we'll see what happens. I'll keep watching that one. But yeah, Snapchat, that's not really a good sign if it, the breakout was just such an epic fail in that way. All right, and then, yes, that's really it for my trading today. What I'm trying to do is trade a little bit less. I feel really comfortable with the allocation that I'm currently in. And yeah, let's take a look. I'll pull up some of these names over here. So we did have some companies that reported earnings, and we had some very nice earnings at that. So Upstart, this one up 14.82% in the after hours. Really nice earnings report. They crushed it on sales and earnings. This company really has some nice earnings power. Doximity, you can see that one is up. Fubo also reported earnings up 12.81%. I must say I was pretty impressed with their earnings report as well. So yeah, some names that are moving in the after hours. I'll definitely be watching these tomorrow for potential peg setups. And then of course we have our Cryptoverse. Crypto basically consolidating, not doing all that much today. So that's real quick. We'll take a look at our options flow leaders. Look at our options race. Today's combined flows. And this is pretty cool. It brings you through the whole trading day and which names had the highest level of options order flow. And Tesla pretty much always appears at the top of the list. AMD recently has been, right in the middle or towards the top of the list as well. And then I see Coinbase also, appearing towards the top. Coinbase did report earnings after the bell. Coinbase, in my opinion, is not really an asset I want to be long. I'm very bullish on the crypto space, but I just think their primary business model of charging, lofty commissions on crypto trades, in my heart of hearts, I really think that sooner rather than later, we're going to have zero commissions for crypto trading, same as we have for stocks. And, my view, why would we not have that? It doesn't make any sense to me. Why we wouldn't have that, very shortly. So they might be able to pivot. I know there's a lot of people that really dig deep on this company, but for me, just that surface level, understanding of what they do is I would never want to be long this thing. And yeah, it looks like they reported earnings. And, we got some, basically no change. This thing's down maybe 1% in the after hours. So that about does it for this market recap video. Hope you all had an awesome trading session, and I will see you all tomorrow, team.